Arsenal fans, I come in peace. While I like it, we're past the days of celebrating metrics. Let's be brutally honest. This team has to bring home some silverware. I think the manager is good enough to do that. I think the players are good enough to do that. Make sure that's done in May. And for me, people, it's as simple as that, man. Arsenal have quietly looked like, if I'm honest with you, all things considered, and I know we're not fit and flowing and all of those things, probably in terms of getting over the line and just having that maturity and inevitability, probably in the 17 games, 14 to 17 games we played, probably look like the most complete version in terms of just getting over the line under Mikel Arteta. Now, don't get me wrong. Have we been perfect? No, we've not been perfect. We've not been flawless, but complete. Stick with that word. People will get it if they do. If they don't, they don't. We've won ugly. We've controlled games. We've showed elements in games of playing champagne football, which there's many I get to go up in that regards, people. We've survived injuries from the start of the season. And yeah, that landscape we'll get onto that. It's getting bigger and bigger. Fingers and toes crossed, people. This team has learned how to win in many different ways. And that's the only evolution champions go through. But we cannot be called champions until you become champions. We're a good team. It's time to become a great team. It's time to go down in Arsenal folklore. The goalposts will always move. But you see, if you win a Prem, a Champs, etc., say what you want. We've won that. They say, oh my God, they can't be the Invincibles weren't that good. They had 12 draws. Great stuff. It didn't lose a game. Didn't lose a game. Oh, the United, they won. It was jammy how they won the treble. Great stuff. Treble winners. City spend money. Great stuff. Bare stuff. We'll be here all day talking about City's achievements. Oh, Jose Mourinho and Conte were mad negative. Psst. I don't think Manchester City, Arsenal, Manchester United, Liverpool, all of these teams, and Spurs, because they won a European trophy. I don't think any of the fans care. It's in folklore. It's good day out. It's in history. And for me, I don't know about anyone else, yeah. Respectfully to the players that have played for this football club. Rob Holding. You think of Rob Holding, beyond the obvious, winking when we're losing at City. He's in Arsenal folklore. He won an FA Cup. Is he better than Timber? Is he better than Ben White? Is he better than Saliba? Is he better than Gabriel? Is he better than... Do you get where I'm going? You rate these guys more, but they're gone down in folklore. Holding us, these lot need to. These lot are great, but 10, 20 years from now, we're not going to be remembering them potentially. International football is dead unless it's the World Cup or the Euros. No one don't care about these friendlies, definitely us as Arsenal fans. But obviously, you know, the Premier League is thick and fast. When the international break comes, you have time to reflect. So we might as well reflect on Arsenal's season so far. So yeah, Arsenal's season so far, top of the Premier League, second in the league phase of the Champions League. We're in the quarterfinals of a League Cup. I believe we played 17 games in all comps, 14 wins, 2 draws, 1 L. When it's all said and done, make it make sense, in my opinion. We're nearly a quarter of the way into the season. And simply put, when it's all said and done, currently we're on course to achieve what we potentially can, barring the twists and turns. And when it's all said and done, the team are doing their jobs, people. Let's be real, though. The dynamics have shifted. The standard has changed. This team has to win silverware. And I think if you don't believe this team's capable of silverware, then I just think I don't know what you want to do really and truly, because the players say it, the gaffer says it. We know we've got no divine right to win silverware. There's twists and turns, there's bumps and bruises. But in the last 3 years, when it's all said and done, we had some great nights out, some great periods. We've not cemented anything in history. And that can't be the case of this fourth season, in my humble opinion. This team has to win silverware. It's not 2019, 2020 anymore. The process has shifted and it's about getting over the line. We are a good team. It's now about becoming a great team. Great teams win things. Great teams go down in Arsenal folklore. Keyword Arsenal. Byproduct of that would be the world of football. But we're Arsenal fans. We only care about Arsenal, people. So what are we actually saying about the season so far, people? Let me know in the comments, people, if I'm honest with you. Let's actually break some certain things down and what's potentially to come. Standout games. If I'm keeping it real with you lot as Arsenal fans, my standout game so far this season, it's always enjoyable to beat Manchester United. And actually, we don't travel well to Old Trafford. So I would say that for those connotations. Next, I would say it's always nice when you can score 3 or 5 goals as we did against Nottingham Forest in Leeds. I did enjoy the smash and grab as a football fan against Bilbao. Atletico Madrid 4-0, lovely in the Simeone Mikel Arteta derby. But for me personally, if we are to win the Premier League, and there'll be many other games that will be standouts and things like that, I would say Newcastle away for everything that happened in that game. Obviously, you know, we've played a number of teams that are bogey teams for us. Nobody wants to travel Newcastle away, whether their form is good or bad. So I think, you know, what I saw in that game, I did think there was elements of us looking very threatening on the counter-attack, people. And that's when I think Arteta finally put the handbrake down. And I did like how we reacted to adversity. You know, it's a stadium we don't travel well to. We actually went a goal down. We rescued it. I think that was a turning point for this football club. And I actually think that game for me as an Arsenal fan, if we go and win the Premier League or any trophy, I will look at that. We all know it's a hostile ground to play at. We stood tall, we dealt with adversity, and we came on with the 3 points. And as I said, if we win the league, I promise we'll look back at that game and say that's where the mentality shifted to a next level, because the mentality is there, not just for the players, but also Mikel Arteta. So yeah, people, let me know which games you would say would be the standout matches. Now, if we're talking about standout matches at this point, we have to discuss standout players at this point, innit? Now, whatever people say, we're actually crying about a defeat and 2 draws. Now, again, you lot know me, I like to hyper analyze. You need to chase the illusion of perfection. And I think there's a lot that Mikel Arteta could learn across those 3 games. But we'll expand on that later in the video. It's only right to talk about standout players at this moment in time. For me, there's a couple people. Now, it's all about the collective. Everybody shares the W's, the L's, the draws. And if we win a Premier League title, everybody across all fragments of this football club have been involved, right? But if I had to highlight some players, Jurriën Timber, Rolls Royce, simple as that. Like, showed us last season, doing it this season. You know, it's unlucky that Benjamin White ain't really getting any overlooking because Timber ain't put a foot wrong. Rolls Royce, Calafiori, you know, crazy. Like, the man's a left back, a striker, a winger, everything. He's been able to stay fit. And it's unfortunate for Miles Lewis-Skelly, innit? He's locked down that role. So big up the fullbacks with Timber and Calafiori. Gabriel Magalhaes as well has been immense in defense as well as attack. Unpopular opinion, don't shoot me, Arsenal fans. I think Gabriel Magalhaes is playing 10 out of 10. Now, you might think, where's DG going with this? I've seen Gabriel Magalhaes 20, 30 out of 10. And again, we haven't conceded that many goals. And I only come from a place of love. We have to chase the illusion of perfection. We have to talk about the things that we can improve, people, if we want to get into a new realm, right? It's focusing on Gabriel Magalhaes now. He's not alone. But I would say go and purely go and watch these games again, yeah? Go and look at the 2 goals that we conceded against Sunderland and just focus on Magalhaes. Go and look at the goal we conceded against Manchester City and just focus on Magalhaes. Go and watch the goal against Newcastle and just focus on Magalhaes. Now, I'm not suggesting it's all just him and he's doing his thing. I'm just saying there's more to come. But without a doubt, stand out for us this season. Declan Rice, especially towards the I wouldn't say the end, but towards the end of the footballing calendar for now until we go into the international break. Declan Rice has been mustard. Declan twice, Declan Beckham, bend it like Declan. How you've made 105 million look like pennies, I don't know. The man's immense. He's colossal. He's a 6, he's an 8, he's everything in between. And Arsenal fans, never let them gaslight you. Say what you want about my midfielder. He scores, he attacks, you know, he defends with his life. He's Declan Rice. He's mustard, isn't it? Simple as that, really and truly. I have to big up Leandro Trossard as well. He's a player that, I'm not saying people are wrong. Some people wanted him gone. Some people would entertain him leaving. I've been wrong about many things. Me in the summer, I was saying Martinelli and Trossard, you lot are squad players, not to downplay you lot. Bring in a left winger that is better than them lot. That never happened. And to be honest with you, considering the current landscape, big up Trossard. Let's have it right. He's in the attacking unit. He's our best performing attacker at this moment in time. So big up Leandro Trossard, man. I'd say there's other players, but I'd say they're the ones that I think head and shoulders are standing out week in, week out for me. That's like, they're doing their thing. So then obviously, if you've got standout performers, you obviously got players that don't really know how to phrase it, people. So I'm going to say forgotten men, not flavor of the month. Now, again, it's a long season. Football is fickle. If a week's a long time in football, and you think about the 14 different game weeks, 17 different games in all comps, there's been different heroes, different villains, man of the match one week, underwhelming the next. So I don't really know, people. And again, it's a long season. We're going to need everyone. You get where I'm going with this, innit? But in terms of forgotten men, you got to start with Benjamin White. For me personally, I'll always back Benjamin White. I do think Arsenal fans are suffering some from shiny new toy syndrome, in that a lot of fans say, oh, we want two of each position and this, that, and the other. It starts happening, and Timber is obviously flying. Benjamin White has been coming back from injury, looked rusty, and yeah, he's going to get sold. And you know the media, he's being linked with Man City and all of that. I'll always sing Benjamin White's praises for several reasons. First, we need a squad. The more that Timber has to play, the more there's wear and tear. And that's that extends to everyone. We've got two international recognized footballers. We've got two bloody good fullbacks. Well, they can play all across the back five. Well, back four. Definitely don't want to see them in goal. In Timber and Benjamin White. The problem with Benjamin White is you're not going to get a run of games at this moment in time. Everything's a must win. Everything's difficult, you know. And again, from an Arsenal fan's point of view, squad point of view, that is cool. But obviously, in terms of that continuity, that fluidity, simply put, shaking off the ring rush, Benjamin White's obviously not going to be afforded to that unless he gets a chance and he takes it. Now, it's a double-edged sword. You can't be out of a game week for time and not have fitness and us expect you to do the business in 10, 15, 20 minutes, one game, all of these kind of things. But unfortunately, it's almost hypocritical, but that's how you get extended game time. I'll always sing Benjamin White's praises. And I know, you know, yesterday's achievements don't pay today's success. Yeah. And I know as we get better and better, there's margins for error, but we've got Jurien Timber, who's done brilliant, as discussed. And we've got Benjamin White, a man that was our starting fullback, a man that's put his body on the line for this club for years, known to have played with injuries, known to have even played with a hamstring tear. So I will always back Benjamin White, but he is a bit of a forgotten man at this moment. Keeping up the theme with English players at Arsenal and obviously fullbacks-ish, Miles Lewis-Skelly, like, it's just another hurdle for him, you know. Obviously, you know, last season he went from being on the peripheral. Him and Nwaneri have emerged. They were in that weird place where you've left the academy football. You're part of the first team, but you're not quite there, if that makes sense. Obviously, when his opportunity came, ironically, we're in November. Around this time is when he started getting his starts. So maybe that's food for thought. He took his chance. You know, he's taken everything in his stride, man. You know, they've tried to assassinate a man's character. Haaland didn't make a big deal of that stuff, nor did Miles Lewis-Skelly, nor did most football fans, because we understand that's football. But this whole attitude stuff and whatnot, when Miles Lewis-Skelly was drawn out first in the away game, and I love that from Miles Lewis-Skelly. I'll even go a step further. I'm not saying Miles Lewis-Skelly is in the same realm as me at this moment as Thierry Henry and all of them, but he's probably one of my favorite players to have played for this football club. He's a cultural man. He does all the charity stuff. You know, his mum does great work trying to educate people around academy football. All he does, his mentality, his ability, everything. Now, you can forgive Miles Lewis-Skelly for when he got his opportunity. Did well against PSG, did well against Real Madrid, did well across his whole exposure. You can forgive him for coming into the season like, rah, I've done all of that. Arsenal are doing whatever. I scored on my England debut and made my England debut. Life came at me fast. 2-2s now. Hincapié, you can play centre half as well as left back. Calafiori, who, based on what we brought you for, should be ahead of you. International big money signings ahead of me. But this is just another learning curve. You just have to be patient. And I've said, I don't care who plays left back. I like what Hincapié can be for this club. I love Calafiori and I love Miles Lewis-Skelly. You lot fight it out. When Miles Lewis-Skelly gets his chance, he's going to take it. I hope he does get some football because I obviously wanted to play for England. And we're at that point. For me, you wish you could just play 12 players. So I would obviously say Miles Lewis-Skelly's a bit of a forgotten man, but I back him all the way. And it's just another hurdle. You have to compete. Like, this is something that goes for all these young players and footballers in general. Sometimes you cannot put a foot wrong. A next man gets a chance like Calafiori, and he's been able to stay fit, and he's doing the madness. As we know, there's a lot of runner games coming very thick and fast. The whole squad that is available is going to have to be utilized. So I don't worry about that. Which takes me on to another Haaland talent, people. Ethan Nwaneri. I think he's the most underrated player now in our squad because, you know, Dalman's doing well. There's all the noise around Eze. There's other players that take the positive or negative limelights. Nwaneri, like, the reality is, if he's genuinely seen as a central midfielder now, which appears the case, he's indirectly competing with Kai Havertz, who can be utilized there and probably played ahead of him. Potentially Marino, definitely Rice and Zubimendi, and even a Norgard, to example, and etc. So again, another one where you can't really build a run of games if you've not been afforded an opportunity, but you get the point. I think he slept on. And for him, even right wing, you've got Noni that's coming, probably second in command over Saka. Well, only Saka's ahead of him. Dalman looks like a better fit on that right-hand side. I still maintain Nwaneri can get minutes everywhere, here, there, and everywhere, because we saw Wenger used to do that. But Nwaneri is a bit of a forgotten man. Maybe the rumors of going on loan in Jan will start to take flight. But I back Nwaneri. I love Nwaneri, and I'm happy Berta has got Miles Lewis-Skelly and Nwaneri signed to new deals. If I'm completely honest with you. Hincapié as well, been on the peripheral things, a bit of a forgotten man, kind of. You know, he had groin surgery in the summer and things of that ilk. And let's have it right. Calafiori and Gabriel Magalhaes been two of our best players at this moment. So a bit piggybacking, I think is the term. smash the like button. Off what I just said in for the previous players, I was saying Nketiah, and for me, I'm excited around Nketiah. You know, you give me an aggressive South American defender, I'm all for it, and one that can play centre half as well as left back. It's a madness. So I would say for me, these are not quite the forgotten men, but yeah, you get where I'm going. This is just how I'm looking at things. Martin Odegaard, the class Norwegian, the best Norwegian in the Premier League. Now, I'm joking. Big up to him, by the way, for helping Norway in their own part during the World Cup qualification to obviously make 2026 World Cup, people. Odegaard, you can never forget the Capitano, man. I love Martin Odegaard. Of course, there's a lot of question marks. I just think for Odegaard, it's around injuries, man. Like, yes, we need you to get back to scoring goals, assisting, showing us your creative play, dominating games, etc. And those are all points that are valid. But when you've had a stop-start season like this, it's jarring and it's annoying because, you know, Newcastle obviously done well off the bench, coming back from an injury. I'm sure there was a Champions League game as well. It could have been Olympiacos. Forgive me if I'm wrong. And a lot of things Arsenal fans, including myself, kept doing. Oh, is Eze going to get shifted out wide? Is Eze going to be on the bench? No, Odegaard's going to start ahead of him. Against West Ham, it was Zubimendi who was left on the bench. Okay, he had a great game off it, but he was on the bench, obviously, and we were exposed to seeing different kind of tactics with Eze and Odegaard both starting. Unfortunately, such has been Odegaard's luck in the last couple of seasons, including now. He picked up an injury and we hope he's back like a number of players after the international break. But yeah, man, you know, you've got a lot of competition and only 3 men can play in midfield. I know you can tweak things and a couple players can play out wide, but I'm sure if you ask Wanyeri, Eze, Odegaard, you know, whoever, they all want to play midfield. And I said it earlier, like for me, Kai Havertz is better up front for us. It's always Mikel Merino, but they are options that could be utilized in midfield. Whether you're an 8, a 10, an 8.5, an all-rounder, there's competition for places, man, which is great news. Don't let yourself be left out. It's only right to talk about the new signings. Don Berta Corleone done a mad thing, people. Let's be real. 8 signings. It's unprecedented. The only thing I would say is we need to get better at selling, and I wish 8 was 9. Ironically, I wanted a left winger, but you can't have it all. So at this point in the season, we all know there's different factors. I do think it's easier with the current landscape for our defenders or new defenders to slot in because we've got a bit of a better defensive ethos. But then obviously where you look at the midfield and up front, you know, there's some players have just been brought in. You have to get up to speed with what's demanded of you individually and collectively. You need to settle off the field and on the field. You need to get to know your teammates. You need to adjust to the league. Obviously, there's still a lot of building blocks we need to put in to the team in an attacking sense, and we've got more solid defensive foundations, people. I don't subscribe to this myth that we're mad rubbish in attack. There's obviously stuff above my pay grade that I think Mikel Arteta has to address, but I am of the belief now that these players, these attackers specifically, they need to stay fit and they need to go through patches of form and relationships. You know, Timber and Saka is actually a new relationship. Rice and Zubimendi the same. Odegaard and Eze, if they play together. You know, Odegaard or Eze, whoever's in the midfield with the 2 names I've just said before. Whoever the hell is left wing, if that's Eze. You get where I'm going with this kind of Gyokeres, etc., etc. You get where I'm going. So I'm not going to write anyone off 14 games in. We might as well start with Gyokeres. Now, I do think, and this is a safe place, smash the like button, people, and subscribe. This is a safe place. I think the aesthetics merchants hate Gyokeres. Let's be real. They hate him. He's a bit clunky. He's not pretty. But I always say it's so beautiful. It's so ugly. It's beautiful. I don't care for Gyokeres to look pleasing. Respectfully, Gabriel Jesus, Bobby Dazzler. We've had players that look a bit pretty. We've had a couple of players, whether they've been midfielders that's gone up there, Eddie Nketiah, Gabriel Jesus, so on and so forth. The last prolific man we had was Aubameyang, and he got shifted to the left. Obviously played through the middle. He weren't the most prettiest footballer, but he could do what a lot of others couldn't. And Gyokeres the same. Put the ball in the back of the net, which is what they say is one of the most difficult things to do. Now, I still, as I said, you know, you get where I'm going. I still think there's a lot of building blocks to put into place at Arsenal Football Club for Gyokeres to thrive, create some chances. A bit like when Eze lined him up for a tap with Gyokeres. And if you go back, if you care enough to go back to my Gyokeres videos when we initially signed him, I could waffle for days about what I like about Gyokeres. But one thing I liked was the unglamorous goals, them simple little tappings. You know, the goal like he scored with his by private area against Atletico Madrid. The ugly goals, I'm here for that. I do think it's a bit weird in that I can always tell if people actually watch Arsenal because if you watch us, if you look at Gyokeres, you say, oh, he's just a goal scorer, it's all the other aspects. And I have seen the media kind of say that. Well, if you're watching Arsenal, ironically, the one thing we want him to do, some of it, again, you need to take responsibility, because there has been chances in games, especially from the Newcastle game onwards, where you're not putting the ball in the back of the net or whatever. Big him up for Burnley, though. And let me know off topic, people, because for me with Gyokeres, I still think Newcastle was the best game in an Arsenal shirt. But likewise, Burnley away, which he got his first goal for the club away from home, I understand it because he scored. He looked good in that first 45 minutes before he came off. Ironically, he's injured now. And obviously that good pass for Trossard. So I actually think he's adapting. I almost feel you have to be unselfless, innit? And whatever people have to say, signings go wrong. We think we know football. The club have obviously identified him, gone through all the talking points we have, and clearly at some point, beyond the obvious of scoring goals, right, with Gyokeres, they've clearly sat there and said, okay, we know we need goals. We know in the modern day, there's not a striker that just sits in the penalty box. Haaland don't even do that. Can he drop deep? Can he work the channels? Can he be a battering ram? Can he draw defenders away from our other attackers to allow them to thrive? Because let's have it right. I've been saying this. Being a striker, you're the first defensive line. You're pressing relentlessly. 9 times out of 10, you're playing congested sides. You're not really getting space. And you're a sacrificial lamb because you attracting defenders to you and holding them off like Gyokeres. That allows the late runs from Rice and anyone from midfield. That allows our wide men to get in other areas. And obviously, you get where I'm going with that. So I think he's almost done that. I do think he's a bit too nice, though. I want to see him lean on a man and bully a man a bit more because I think there's a beast to come out in him, if I'm honest. So I do think he's adapted. Considering the fact that we signed him, he had no preseason, we had to probably, quote unquote, overplay him, which is a double-edged sword, because if Havertz was here, he might not have played as many minutes, but muscular injuries happen now. So ironically, we need a squad, right? So I do think there's light at the end of the tunnel. But isolated to what Gyokeres himself can control, I've been underwhelmed with the goals, man. I've been underwhelmed, bro. Like I've been underwhelmed. As much as I give you the excuses and injuries and all of these, you're getting to know your teammates and stuff. There has been that, he's still in an integrational period, and he won't be the first nor the last player to have a bit of an indifferent 6 months and then go off and do things, people. He's had to adapt and hit the ground running. I know it's irrelevant because people don't want sub stories, but he did everything to sign for this football club. So you'll have a fan in me for life, if I'm honest with you. Again, for me, I think he does everything Arteta wants, except look pretty. He needs more goals, but for me, with Gyokeres, the foundations are there, which takes me on to Zubimendi. For me, I know you lot are excited. I've been gassing up Zubimendi. I actually think there's a lot more to come. I think if Zubimendi was water, you can't get in that bath right now. It's still a bit lukewarm. Like, it's not really therapeutic, if that makes sense, people. I think he's adapting fast. I think he's changing our lives. I think finally with him and Declan Rice, we have that partnership that Arteta wants, and we have a long-term partner for Rice. Let's have it right. Declan Rice has had Partey, Kai Havertz, Jorginho, Merino, bare different guys. We know him and Zubimendi, they're both multifunctional. They can do six stuff across phases of the game, 8 stuff, all of these kind of things, really. And Zubimendi, for me, allows Rice to gamble a bit more, because I have felt, whether it's been Partey, whether it's been this one or that one, there's an element of Declan Rice, and I don't know this, but he's doing everything that's required of him. But in the back of his head, he's thinking about, I can't gamble too much. I don't want to leave my man on a desert, where Zubimendi can handle his own, people. I do think it's a title challenging, potentially title winning midfield pivot of both of them. It's great. He's tiny Rodri, as I keep saying. Zubimendinho, you saw his volley and them thing there. I do think there's more to come. I don't think he's been as great as people are making out, but I'd give it a solid positive 6, 7 out of 10. And that's only because I know the levels he can go to. I do think, naturally, there's been an element of a culture shock with Zubimendi, like the end-to-endness. The minute you get the ball, you need to go down the other end. I do look at, I would say, Liverpool away, them kind of games there, where naturally you're coming from La Liga. You hear things about the Premier League. I'm sure Marino and everybody that's Spanish at the club told you. I'm sure the ones for Spain at international level told you. But I guess when you're playing Premier League football, when you're living, breathing, and you're in that pitch, you see it for yourself. It's like we're all boxing fans. We think we know boxing and that, but once you're in the ring, it's a different kind of story. So, yeah, man, I think Zubimendi's doing his thing, man, and he slotted in perfectly, and he was worth the wait, man. You could see why everyone in Europe was onto him. Eze, bad boy, sick. I think he fits in. It's now a case of standing out. I think when we have space, a bit like our team collectively, he can do his thing. I think we need to still tweak how we break down low blocks. And I think Eze needs to learn to thrive within that. For me, he's a Swiss Army knife. I expect to see your left wing. I expect to see your left and right 8, 10, occupy even the right-hand side if it gets to that. I don't want to give Arteta ideas, but he has played as a false nine for Crystal Palace. I love Eze, man. The only thing I need more. I know it's not YouTube, but we watch Eze week in, week out, even more so that it excites for Arsenal. The man's got stardust, dribbling, goals, chaotic moments, talismanic figure, because that's in particular, we made 8 signings, but for me, the ones that beyond the obvious gas me the most would be the Gyokereses, the Zubimendis, the Ezes, because I see you as game changers. I see you as level raisers. And when we signed Eze, based on what you've done at Crystal Palace, you make the difference in moments. Like the first thing that's going through my mind right now, people, and let me know in the comments if you agree. When I think Eze, I think talisman, I think talismanic figure. I think you, Saka, Gyokeres in terms of being a goal scorer. Rice is a bit industrious and does everything for the team, but he's got that talismanic trait. Gabriel Magalhaes when he's scoring and whatnot, and that I think you're a man that can win us games and them kind of moments there, kind of what you've shown with your assist against Manchester City. For me, first off against Newcastle, I would say that's it for me. I need more talismanic moments. The quality undoubtedly is there. It just needs to go up. And for me, I would say goals. Noni Madueke has unfortunately been injured. Noni, I'm happy for him, apart from obviously being injured, because we all know about the noise on social media. I'm not talking about those fans, by the way, that positive questions. Why are you going and buying another Chelsea player? Why are you betting on potential? How does he raise the level? Obviously, at the time we signed Madueke, forgive me if I'm wrong, but Eze and Gyokeres weren't here at that moment in time. So that was adding fuel to the fire, like what's going on type of thing. Madueke, a bit like Eze, I just want goals from him. I feel our players are a bit robotic when I watch them, and I think Madueke is a bit different. Like, I do like Noni. I'm happy that, he came into this football club with a lot of noise, buying Chelsea players, 50-odd million, the petitions, lol, and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm happy for him. He's slotted in well. Looks like he's a good option off the left and the right. Would I have bought Noni? 100% I wouldn't have, but he's here now. I need goals, though, and it sucks, though, man, because I feel there's never a good time to get injured, isn't it? But I feel a couple of our players, when they're really finding their feet, bang, injury strikes. But we'll discuss injuries specifically in just a moment, people. So yeah, the quality is there from Eze. That higher level consistency needs to be there. Short and sweet. Christian Bosquera, as I see him on social media, 13 million. Don Corleone Berta, you are not going to be at Arsenal long. They're going to start investigating everyone. We're going to get a RICO case. How have you managed to blag Valencia for 13 million for that 21-year-old? And we're greedy. We got Saliba, new deal. Magalhaes, new deal. Timber, White, this one, Miles Lewis, Skelly, Calafiori, Hincapié, this one, that one. And we've added Mascara for 13 million quid. Ridiculous. Obviously, he got subbed against Newcastle at halftime. I did feel it was harsh, but the manager knows more than me. Not put a foot wrong. Love him. There's going to be many twists and turns. The Gabriel Magalhaes of today was not the 21-year-old Magalhaes. There's William Saliba, apologies, of today was not the 21 William Saliba. So Mascara is going to drop clangers like everyone. He is going to have those moments, but blood, 13 million quid. And you know what? Even as I'm making this video, there was a time, for all the players we got in our defensive ranks, would have bit your arm off for just one of them in the Premier League. In the Emirates era. Now we got all of these guys to the point where a couple of players we used to hold in high regards defensively during the Emirates era, they look a bit meaty, innit? But Mascara cold. Norgard not really been exposed to much. I still think it sounds weird, but I still think he's deep in raw play for Arsenal, if that makes sense. I did think he was a bit more tenacious and aggressive based on what I thought I saw at Brentford, if that makes sense, compared to what he's been doing at Arsenal. But he just brought in to plug a gap, play certain games, play in certain moments. Thought he should have come on against Sunderland, funny enough. But yeah, there's obviously him. Hincapié, not been exposed to too many minutes, but I'm a bit biased. Loved him at Leverkusen, can play in a back three, a back four, left back, left wing back, centre half. There's a lot that he has to learn. Despite him being experienced, he is only 23. And we've not been exposed to him. But I'm actually very bullish about Hincapié, but naturally there ain't too much to say. What I would say as well is, I know he wasn't brought into the club technically, but in terms of new signings, Dowman, innit? Like Max Dowman, fucking mustard, generational. Tuchel cap him and then put him back in the young team, people. So you can say when Dowman goes to achieve what he wants, you were the first man to give him the cap. Dowman's a Bobby Dazzler, and I think he's the first young player obviously Arteta why for that, but brought through Smith Rowe, you know, well, not really brought through Smith Rowe, but put his hat on Smith Rowe, developed Saka and all these other guys. And obviously there's Miles Lewis-Skelly and what he's done, and Wanyeri with what he's done. But I think Max Dowman's like his one, if that makes sense. Like he's put his hat on him. I don't care where Dalman plays. I see you as a 10 or an 8 in the future, medium term, right wing. You could do your thing. He's amazing. He just plays, it's as dumb as it is. It's his temperament. Like he just takes everything in his stride, provokes havoc, doesn't get too overawed or nervous. We've got to remember he's 15, 16, but we got to keep our feet on the ground. And we've said this a lot of times. We said it about Jack Wilshere. We said it about Bakayo. We said it about Smith Rowe. We've heard it about Reece Nelson. Max Dowman surely is the greatest talent in recent years that's come out of A-Len. And we're greedy, man. Miles Lewis-Skelly, Wanyeri, Dowman. By the time this video finishes, there's probably some other 15-year-old that's about to play. So, yeah, man, big them up, man. And long may it continue, man. A-Len, keep doing what you're doing. We're talking about Arsenal's season so far, so we got to speak about the manager, if I'm completely honest. I just want to ask you lot, because I know you lot are going to hear the name Mikel Arteta. Some people want to sack him, some people want him gone. So in the name of engagement, let me know your feelings of Mikel Arteta and everything we've discussed so far. Now, where I look at Mikel Arteta at this point in the season, we all know this season, at least to us, is somewhat make or break. We know, well, I think you're a good manager. I think you're going to achieve things in the game. I think, if you were to be sacked or you were to leave Arsenal, I'm not saying you'd get every job, but I do think Europe's elite and, the top 6 in the Premier League, well, top 5 in Spurs and all the big teams. I do think your name would be a candidate. That's not me gassing you up. It's just, you can't, for me, I think it's illogical to say Mikel Arteta is not a good manager. That's not what I'm here to talk about, people, because, I'll simply say from when he joined this club, if he left tomorrow, we're in a different realm. So you could look back with pride. But until you get over the line, you do look like the man before the man. And if people want to talk about how Mikel Arteta is this great and our team is this good, there is an element of we need to win trophies and forget all of that. The players, the manager, us, we think we're good. It's not for us balanced fans. We're not here doing, we can beat up anyone and do whatever, but we have a realistic chance of fighting for the Prem. Champions League, you get into the latter stages and play it by ear. You get where I'm going. The FA Cup and the League Cup, we're in the quarterfinals, got to 2 semis last year. Mikel Arteta, on the topic of being in the Champions League, you've managed in 3 seasons in the Champs. This would be your 4th. So you've got to it'll be your 3rd. Apologies. You've got to a quarters, a semis. Hopefully you could do one better. But we're a good team. We now need to become a great team. We need to go down in folklore. I think these players deserve it, really. And I credit the manager, the players, everybody for dusting themselves off and going again. But you do have to wonder, people, like, is he the man before the man? Like, we're a good team with a good manager. We need to be a great team with a great manager. Going down in folklore. And that's where we're at now. The rebuild has happened. Like, we're a competent and competitive side again. And because we're competent, consistent, and competitive, and all, we see all the records come out, all of these are pointing towards we're a good team. Now it's about bagging a bit of silverware. When it's all said and done, in the last 3 years, excluding this season, people, I'm not here to say Arsenal are the biggest and baddest, but do I believe we should have won silverware in the last 3 years? 1,000,000%. And your mind does wonder, could you have won 1 Premier League, first of the Emirates era? Could you have retained it? Something we've never done in my lifetime, or ever, really. I should go and do history. Could we have gone a bit further in the Champs? Now, I'll say this for all of the club people. At this moment in time, I think it is about man, game, and it's about game management, man management. It's about navigating. It's about winning battles, but also what that looks for the war. I think when we win, we can't get too excited. When we lose, you can't do too much, people. I do think for Mikel Arteta, I think you learned going into the Newcastle game, and I think you learned after it. I do feel that was a turning point. I do think we've still got issues and things we need to navigate. We're not in final form, but I do think the handbrake went down. I do think you found that balance of where to complicate things and then where to just let the players do what they're doing. I do think your man management and game management in games, like taking off Mascara, end of the day, it worked. Several others, Odegaard against Newcastle and several other talking points and things of that ilk, people. But if we're talking about fine margins, and again, I'm not saying this for the sake of it, but we need to look at those fine margins. And everyone says the Premier League is a cup final. I think there's plenty that he could have learned in his approach against Liverpool, specifically the second half. And I know Szoboszlai scored a great free kick, but the build-up was losing a bit of the control, was losing the tactical battle. People did start to look tired. And, when you're tired, you make mistakes. Zubimendi were chasing it. He's made a foul. 9 times out of 10, Szoboszlai ain't going to do that against Arsenal, but that's what makes football great, isn't it? The Sunderland game, the players have to take responsibility. But I do think you could have adjusted sooner. I think we sat back too much. The players are reliant on your structure. So I do think you sat back too much. I do think you could have brought on Hincapie, Miles Lewis, Skelly, and Norgard. They're on the bench. You utilize them really and truly. Mascara got no issues with him coming off the bench because you needed to do such people. You know, I wouldn't have taken off Rice, but you could argue he looked a bit spent. And if we truly have this great squad and we trust everyone, it don't really matter if you've been bought for 105 million or you're a random kid. Obviously, we've got common sense, but you get where I'm going. So for me, I think he would have learned from the Newcastle game, the Sunderland game just before the break, Manchester City as well, because let's have it right. You can't go back in time. We were great for 45 minutes, indifferent in the first half, conceded a crap goal, which is on the players, but again, learning curve. So I think there's 3 games. And there's probably others, really, because even when we beat teams and slaughtered them, there's been moments and things we could have done better. These things happen, people. And I do feel, in short, there was probably too much of a cautious approach against City and Liverpool. Injuries are rising, apologies. Rotation must be smarter. Arteta is delivering results right now, but we got to be saying this in May, if I'm honest. Arteta is the man, and he's paid handsomely. He has to navigate this chaos, really and truly. And there is a bit of a thinking that the next 8 to 10 games will define our season when we look back in hindsight. But so far, so good from the gaffer. We all know, like, I don't think this is shared internally. I do think if Mikel Arteta doesn't win any silverware, he stays. But at least to the fans on the ground, whether you're the mad negative and he's not good enough, whether you're mad positive and you'll keep him regardless, whether you're like in the middle, like I didn't initially believe, but he's doing his thing. You know, I believe in him, but there is an element of he might be the man before the man. He might not be the man to take us over the line. And naturally, you want to do that with him. You want to do that with the players, really and truly. Only time will tell. Unfortunately, injuries are part and parcel of the game. And I would love for, considering the fact that we signed 8 players, the only question marks around depth would have been, for me, in an ideal world, because everybody's obviously fit, who's in the starting 11, who makes the bench. Unfortunately, whether it's last season or seasons, whether you support Arsenal or not, 1 injury, 20 injuries definitely could derail everything. Let's call it for what it is, man. It does feel like a bit of a developing crisis. It started off with our attackers. Don't know what happened there. Well, really, it's been here since preseason and the beginning of the season, but it started with our players in the attacking ranks. And owing to, you know, the international break, there was some noise around Calafiori. Thank the Lord that it appears positive. Gabriel Magalhaes, big blow, big blow, big blow. And it's sad, man, because he's playing in a friendly at the Emirates for Brazil, people, which sucks, really, because it's in his backyard. And they would have been playing against Tunisia in Lille, which we bought him from, obviously, Lille. So it would have been romantic for him. And, you know, I know people take the lazy view and say, oh, it's a pointless friendly and things like that. And I hear you, you're not wrong. You know, the fixture list, it is what it is. It's unfortunate. The decision makers are just you know, there's less rest for players and there's more games. And it's unfortunately a necessary evil. And I understand when fans sit there and say, oh, why can't they pull out of the international games and things of that ilk? And I'm not saying you're wrong, but maybe we need to look at another realm. Way before these players knew what Arsenal was, they were, or any club, they grew up in their nations. There's no highest honor than representing your country and playing for them and things. And obviously there's a World Cup. You want to be in contention. You want to build up chemistry with your teammates. You want to play in these kind of games, people. So it's unfortunate, man, especially when people get injured, not at our football club. Magalhaes is a bitter pill to swallow. He's effective in our defense and obviously in the attack. I was looking forward to him scoring in the North London derby. He's obviously our biggest threat from set pieces. So we're probably going to have to tweak that. Obviously, the less players that we have to choose from, the more that you're having to run other players into the ground. And, you know, for me, I don't know where you lot are at, but for me, I know you could put Mascara in and either Saliba or Mascara, one of them are left-sided centre-half. Timber's been playing as centre-half for Holland, so maybe that's an option. You could integrate Benjamin White. You could, for those of you that want Miles Lewis-Skelly back, Calafiori could move across and you bring Miles Lewis-Skelly, but for me, and you're going to probably have to try all of these things, Arteta, if I'm honest with you, throughout the course of the run of games we got coming up. But for me, I would go Hincapie. I think Hincapie, significantly experienced despite being 23, left-sided centre-half, kind of keeps things as it is. Because I'm not saying this, but, you know, Gabriel's obviously left-sided centre-half. There's things he does in terms of build-up play. Gabriel Magalhaes is not there. You move Saliba across, and you have to find solutions. But could you argue indirectly, in trying to solve one problem, you might have created another? I don't know. But the injury list is ever growing. And we're at that point of the season, not just Arsenal players, but players all around the world. If you're playing for your club and country, or you've played a significant amount of games, you probably are carrying knocks. You probably have to have an element of load management, as you've seen with Saliba, Calafiori, and Gabriel Magalhaes, and the talking points coming out there. It's a bit, you don't want to lose any players in it. We got some tough games to come, people. But Madueke, Odegaard, Havertz, Gyokeres, Martinelli, Calafiori, touch and go. And there's been Gyokeres, if I haven't said that, and many are more in it, and they can always happen. And unfortunately, it just feels like that age-old thing. Couple of players are on the eve of returning, and then there's just another spanner in the works, man. It's a long list. It's a growing list, even though some are going to come back. And this is where the season gets gritty, isn't it, really? The games are coming thick and fast. It might not be a part of the season where, when you're living it and breathing it, you're kind of deep in these things. But when you look back in May, this kind of period, not even just this period after the international break, but the run of games before that might be where you look back at your season and think, that's where it was made, that's where it was broken. Hopefully it was made here. But you know what? We're going to have to get on with it, man. If we was looking around and I'm seeing Mustafi and Rob Holding and Callum Chambers and Lichtsteiner and this one and that one, I'd be nervous. Obviously, I want Magalhaes fit, but we've got some quality defensive players here. So we're going to have to just get on with it, people. Look at all those talking points and all the things that no doubt I've said and you lot have said and points I've missed. And it's only been a quarter of the season. A week's a long time in football. We've played a quarter. I wonder what talking points we'll have in the next quarter. Arsenal fans, honestly, there's going to be many bumps and bruises, twists and turns. Hopefully we win silverware. If we don't, we consider that then. But what we all need to do is get behind the team, positively critique where due, praise where due, not get too excited when we win, as much as you can do that as a fan, not lose our heads when we lose or draw like the Sunderland game, or lose in pre-season like the North London derby. There's a lot more football to play, but I do believe Arsenal look more and more serious than people want to admit. The only thing they can use to critique us is, Arsenal always find the way of bottling it, and that's what they're leveraging. I don't care about proving them right or wrong, because what's the worst that they could say if we don't win? They always bottle it. So if you know what the worst can happen, you need to liberate yourself. You need to be fearless. You need, with this club, everybody, fans, everyone, let's all just do this together, people. We are competitive again. We've got no God-given right to win stuff. But what we do have a God-given right is to put our best foot forward and make sure we bring this home. If we don't, and the other men in whatever team are better, great. But make sure you can look yourselves in the mirror, and the players, everybody in May can look themselves in the mirror and say, we couldn't have done no more. After that, we're back to the drawing board, and certain conversations will need to be had. But the team is growing. And we're not even final form. We've navigated, when it's all said and done, we ain't been perfect on the field. We've had all the talking points we've said, and we still made it happen. So, for me, the team is growing. The pressure is rising. The wins are stacking. The mentality is shifting to that of a really elite level. We have a 4-point lead at the top of the Premier League, but at the same time, that can change very quickly in November, and you got a target on your head. And when you're at the top, the only way is down. It's one thing getting to the mountain, it's another thing solidifying. And that's what I want for this club. We need to get that first Prem and then start trying to aspire to dominate. Whether that's able or not, that should be the ambition. But we need to get the first one over the line. As I said, a 4-point lead today can change. And actually, before we kick a ball against Spurs, if City go and beat Newcastle in their game, that's cut to 1 point. And then if you're City, you're looking at it, they got Chelsea, they got Villa twice, they got this, they got that. Injuries are mounting. Not to say City are perfect. You can't even rule Liverpool out, even though I think it's looking a bit mad over there. So we need to keep our heads, people. We really do, man. As I said, people, no attention turns to the North London derby, which, again, we drew against Sunderland. We need to claw a deficit back, if that kind of makes sense, people. The fixtures are rough. The injuries are picking up. The stakes are high. But obviously, people, this is where champions survive and thrive, or this is where pretenders fall. Pressure makes diamonds, or it bursts his pipes. It's down to the boys and the manager as to what side of history they want to be on.